Assalamu alaikum, dear students and researchers. Today I will talk about a very important aspect of part of a research paper, the very first part of a research article. Uh, we normally call it abstract. This is important that your abstract is well written because lot many things depend on the write-off of your abstract. When we submit a paper or we write a paper, this bears, an abstract bears the first impression, and the readers or the editors get the first understanding of the paper or the project from your abstract. So an abstract should be very well written with all the necessary elements and of course very carefully drafted and finalized before you submit the paper. So this is important to understand different aspects, elements, and also I will talk about some tips how we can write as beginner. We can write a very good abstract. So let us start with the definition. What is an abstract? Abstract comes at the very beginning of a research paper or thesis or a project proposal. However, it links the readers with the writer. So the rapport between the readers and the writer is built up through an abstract. And an abstract can be called a brief summary of the whole paper, but it should be a very disciplined one, and it represents the whole research paper in miniature. So only reading through an abstract, a reader or an editor can understand what is the research paper about, how the research paper has been carried out, and what have been the results or has been the result or the findings of the research paper. So an abstract is always a short one. Normally for a research paper or article it is normally 100 to 150 words, but if it is a dissertation or a thesis, it can be extended to up to 250 to 300 words. In some cases you can go for maximum 500 words, but that is not a recommended one. So for our purpose, when we write a research paper, research article mainly, it should be between 100 to 150 words. So what does an abstract do? An abstract provides specific details. It does not provide or it does not state generalized ideas. Normally it consists of a single paragraph, but for longer dissertation it can be maximum 2 paragraphs. And remember, every research paper and the title has some keywords. So in your abstract there should be proper explanation of the keywords. We'll talk about the keywords and I will show you practically how to use these keywords and how to explain them in your abstract. So we can say that an abstract is a concise summary of the entire paper. So it's a concise as well as it's a summary of the entire paper, and that's why it has got to have some specific elements. We can talk about from 5 elements or parts of an abstract. The first one is introduction, importance or rationale. In the very first sentence you can introduce the topic, and in the same sentence we can explain the importance, that is the rationale of the topic. And the very important part of an abstract is to state the purpose, objectives or aims of the study or the paper or the project. And of course the next thing is methodology, that is how you have conducted the thesis or sorry project or the article, how you have, what methods you have followed, that is the methodology which has been followed for conducting the research article or the research. And as a mandatory part of a research abstract, you should write about the results. So and of course results should reflect the objectives or the purposes or aims. And finally, you can go for a conclusion, that is based on your findings, what knowledge your paper has added to the existing knowledge. That can be your conclusion. So you see that the purpose, objectives, aims, methodology and results, these three are mandatory. You cannot avoid any of them. But if you want, you can avoid the first one and the last one, that is you can directly go into stating the purpose or objectives or aims. You can avoid introduction or importance or rationale. At the same time, you can avoid conclusion. Particularly in research paper, short research article, we explain or we give description of these three items. But in research thesis, or when you are writing a thesis paper or dissertation, we should include this description or discussion on all these five elements or parts of the abstract. So the important things are that sometimes we feel that, or many researchers do it like that, that the introduction of the research paper and the abstract are not same. So abstract is different from introduction. Introduction is introducing the topic, giving a background or initiating the topic. But in abstract, we state the five elements that we have discussed in our earlier slides. And of course, in abstract, never copy paste from anywhere of the paper. It's not a copy paste thing, it's a new thing. So use new sentences. And in abstract, we should not use too long sentences. For example, you want to include rationale, importance and aims in one sentence and it becomes a too long sentence. So never do that. Use simple or complex sentence, but never use too long sentences. And do not use any abbreviation. That is also important. Don't use any abbreviated word. Okay. Always explain. Use the whole form of the word. Okay. And of course, do not use any reference. An abstract does not have any reference. So do not just state what you have found or you have done in your research. Do not refer to any article or refer to any other research or any other sources that you have used in your research paper. So now, based on these things, we will go for indeed explaining an abstract. This is one of my papers which has been published recently, and the title, as you see, the title is Attitude and Motivation for Learning English and Their Impact on Performance, a study on engineering students of Jashore University of Science and Technology. So the things are, there are some things which are important, and the first thing is that this title has some keywords. As you see, we have attitude towards learning English, another keyword is motivation for learning English, and finally the impact of attitude and motivation on performance. So we have here three keywords. Okay, so and this is the abstract that I have used in my article. So as you see, it has got in the very first sentence, learners' cognitive, metacognitive, individual differences and demographic characteristics have been found having profound impact on their linguistic performance. So it is an introduction as well as importance. Okay, so in the very first sentence I have expressed introduction. I have tried to introduce the topic as well as stated importance of the topic, or you can say not importance of the topic, rather importance of the keywords. Okay, this study has tried to observe two such factors, namely motivation and attitude of the learners and their impact on the learners' proficiency in English. So this is the next one. You see that this is the objectives. This sentence states the objectives. So this study has tried to observe two such factors, that is motivation and attitude. Okay, motivation, attitude and motivation, and then their impact on the learner's proficiency in English. So it states the objectives. Okay, next slide we have, you see, next we have an adapted version of AMTB. Okay, and a TIP test have been used to statistically measure the level of motivation and attitude of the learners for learning English and the correlation between these two learner factors and their language performance. So this is the methodology. The question is, you see some abbreviated words like AMTB and TEEP. They are abbreviation, of course, but they have got they have become not an abbreviation, rather acronym. And AMTB means Attitude Motivation Test Battery, and TIP means Teaching of English for Educational Purpose, Test of English for Educational Purposes. So test. So it is better that if I could give explanation of this or elaboration of these items, that would be better, no doubt. And that's why I have kept this to show you that you should not keep these things like this until and unless it is a very familiar one and an acronym. This is okay. Next we have next sentence. We have the study has found, that is, it states the results. The study has found that learners' overall motivation level is average, though instrumental motivation outscores integrative motivation, and they have a mixed attitude towards learning English. Neither motivation nor attitude is significantly correlated with learners' proficiency. So the last sentence expresses the results. So here I have 4 sentences or 4 segments. The first one is introduction and importance, and second one is objective, third one is methodology, and fourth one is results and conclusion as well. Okay, now I will show you some steps of writing a good abstract. When your research paper writing is completed, you should try to reread the paper. So try to read and reread the paper, and at this time try to read your paper from a reader's perspective, as if you are a reader. So when your reading is over, try to write a paragraph without looking at the paper. Okay, do not consult the paper at this time. So without looking at the paper, try to write a paragraph, but your focus should be on 5 elements. So based on the 5 elements, focusing on the 5 elements, try to write a paragraph without looking at the paper. Okay, so when your draft abstract is ready, that is paragraph is ready, read the draft abstract and drop the unnecessary information. As it is a draft paragraph or draft abstract, it has got to have some unnecessary information, or it may have some unnecessary information. So drop those unnecessary information from your paragraph. It can be, the information can be in form of word, in form of sentences even. And if you think that some necessary information has been missed out, then you can add that information. And as an abstract is a very brief summary, so try to avoid wordiness, that is, not make it wordy one. Do not use too many adjectives. Do not try to explain the same thing again and again. Okay, so it should be as precise or concise as possible. And the last thing is that you have to ensure cohesion and coherence. Okay, so these two things might seem to be new terms to many of you. Cohesion is the link between sentences. Okay, grammatical link. Probably we understand that when we complete a sentence and get into a new one, we use some words, or they are also called cohesive markers or cohesive devices in between the sentences, so that it becomes a very easy one for the reader to go from one sentence to another. The reading becomes a very smooth one. For example, you can use some, say, though, although, but, and also, say, on the other hand, however, moreover. These are cohesive markers or linkers. Okay, and we should have them so that every sentence of the abstract is connected to the following and the preceding one. And coherence is the idea level congruence. That is, an abstract should have all the necessary information, and all the information, all the sentences of the abstract focus on the same topic. Okay, that the congruence is there. So do not use any irrelevant sentences or irrelevant ideas. So all the ideas in an abstract should be very relevant. It is not only in abstract, everywhere when we write a paragraph, when we write a research paper, however long it is, there should be cohesion and coherence in there. And that is, you should have paragraph to paragraph, sentence to sentence link, as well as you should have in your paragraph, of course, you should have relevant information only. And when these things are done, so the final thing is that in the paragraph or in a draft abstract, you can have some grammatical mistakes or some mechanical mistakes. So we should go for correcting any grammatical mistakes if found any. And sometimes punctuation and spelling, they are called mechanics of writing, and we should go for correcting any punctuation or spelling found in the draft abstract. So if you can do this, I'm sure that you can have a doable, you can have a tolerable paragraph, and it is going to have a lot of impact on your research paper as well as impression of the research paper. Thank you very much.